Hello there, welcome to the world of Pokemon. This run was something else. This run was done by none other than Ditto, and I would honestly say I think that Ditto is worse to use in this game than Magikarp. And the reason why I say that is because Magikarp learns Tackle, so it doesn't have to rely on other Pokemon's movesets, but Ditto continuously throughout the whole game just repeatedly got knocked out. And the other thing with Ditto, as you'll see as we open the menu here, is its stats are dreadful. These are some of the lowest stats I think we have ever dealt with for a starting Pokemon. Now, let's just clarify to begin with, I'm not commentating this one live, I'm watching this one back as I'm doing the commentary. This one is extremely long. It took, I started this with the sun down, it finished with the sun back up. I don't know exactly how much time passed while I was doing this, but it took a very long time. But it's all in the name of content. But so as you see, we do lose the opening battle, and I am going to put a Ditto owned count throughout the run just to make it a little bit more fun, just to poke a little bit of humor at the amount of times that Ditto actually got knocked out in this. And I edited this in last night, so we'll see if I get the count correct. And also keep in mind, while I'm doing the run on this, some of the things I was doing didn't make a lot of sense. You're gonna say, why didn't you just do this? When you do a run like this and you spend so much time doing it, you get to a point where your brain just isn't functioning properly anymore. You're just kind of in this autopilot mode, and that's why you will see me do some less than quality pieces of play during the run, if that makes any sense. Now, the run is very long, so during the run I'm going to be answering a few questions that have been left in comments over the about the 6-month journey that I've been doing these solo runs from, which may give a little bit more insight to the person behind doing these runs. And first of all, why do this to begin with? Why spend so much time gaming and all this? We'll take it from the point of view of someone who says, why do you play games so much? You're just sitting there doing nothing. Isn't there something better that you could be doing with your time? It's a very narrow way of looking at gaming as a whole. Let me break it down like this. So, say you get a bunch of guys who go to the pub each Saturday to have a drink and watch a football team play a match. And say on any day of the week you have a bunch of mothers get together at a local coffee shop to hang out and socialize. The concept of gaming is actually no different to any other form of activity or gathering that you can name. It's got a sense of community, a sense of friendship, and everyone needs that escape from reality, as oftentimes for many of us, particularly us in gaming as well, the real world out there isn't always real welcoming. It's not always the nicest place to be in, to put it blunt. So gaming gives us that escape. With the explosion of online gaming in the past, I would say over the decade, but it's probably been a little bit longer than that now. It's a sense of community as well. You grow a family when you are gaming with people online, which is why it's become such a big thing. So if you look at it in that point of view, even though the activity is different, the sentiment behind the activity of gaming really is no different. It's still that that yearning of belonging with a community of like-minded people. So as you're seeing, Ditto has already been knocked out 3 times, and what the issue was that I ran into very early on this was, even though Ditto uses transform, as you would notice, only 5 PP are added to each move. And this is really what's hindering Ditto from being able to win trainer battles that have multiple Pokemon, is because Ditto can't knock this Weedle out, and it has to start using Struggle while getting hit by Poison Sting. By the time the next Pokemon comes out, Ditto's already out of health. It can't use Struggle and win at the same time. So I have to use some of the potions that are laying around, and there's only 5 of them to get. Remember, Pokemon Red and Blue didn't have potions in the first Pokemon. It did in Yellow, but not in Red and Blue. So Ditto own count is up to 3 already, and as you see, each battle that Ditto participates in is either only just winning, or it is, you know, getting to the next Pokemon and just immediately getting knocked out. And yes, I have added the Screaming Goat as a humor sound effect for this run, just to keep it a little bit interesting. So, alright, how far into the video are we? I am watching this on my laptop. We're nearly 10 minutes through, and it went for nearly 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I wanted to keep the run as authentic as possible. So as you see, Ditto has leveled up now to level 12, as you would have just seen on the menu pop up. This is because if I kept all of the footage of when I was training, this video would have been too long. I wouldn't have even had enough space on my laptop to be able to keep it all together. So as Ditto is knocked out again, let's have a look at the first question I have here. What is your recording setup? What equipment do you have, and how does the whole process happen? Okay, so to begin with, for these Pokemon solo runs, there is a Acer Nitro 5 gaming laptop. It's a pretty good laptop. It was about $1,500. Remember, this is in Australian money as well, so 1,500 AUD is about what it cost when I bought it a few years back. And it, like all Windows laptops, mainly today with the gaming ones, if you hold your Windows key and you press G, you will get a menu pop up and you can record internally on the laptop. That's all I use for these solo runs, it's the laptop's inbuilt recorder, so nothing really fancy there. For the voice, I do have another laptop. I do have a MacBook Pro, which I bought, it'd be nearly 4 or 5 years ago that I purchased that laptop. So that laptop I use for recording. I do have Premiere Pro. I have the whole Adobe suite, so I have Adobe Audition, which is what I'm using right now to record my voiceover into. Premiere Pro is a video editor, a very good one too. That's what I use to do all the video editing on. I use both laptops to do videos. It sort of depends which one is running out of space, is which one I will use. So how about for non-Pokemon games? As if you follow the channel a lot, you see I do post other games other than just Pokemon. Let's take, if we did stick to Pokemon, let's say if we take Arceus Legends, that's on Nintendo Switch, or even Pokemon Violet, Scarlet and Violet. I use an Elgato capture card. A HD60S is the model that I have. And to be completely fair, you do need a little bit of tech knowledge to be able to get the Elgato to run. They're funny little machines, but they are very good. So it has an in and an out. Basically, your console goes in to the Elgato. The Elgato, you don't have to use its output, but its output can go to the back of a TV or into a laptop if you want to get a picture to be a pathway to a certain laptop or a television set. One thing with the Elgato though, if you are running the Elgato into a laptop and then you go out of the laptop and into a TV to get picture, you will get a little bit of a delay. So do keep that in mind if you are going to use Elgato. The delay it's only like a fraction of a second, but it's enough to really put you off a game, especially if it's like Mario or something. Everything will be slightly out of time to your inputs. However, if you just put the output straight through the Elgato to the TV, then it's perfect. It doesn't have any delay. So Ditto's own count is at 8, which is already quite hilarious, and it's already at level 16. You're probably watching the video. I'm somewhat watching it as well, but there's just not enough to talk about to really keep it interesting enough, because it's really Ditto just getting pasted by overworld trainers for most of the run. So yeah, I do have an AV converter, which will put the old RCA, this is the yellow, white and red cords. You get these with your old Super Nintendos, your old PlayStation 2s, your PS1s, your GameCubes, all those old consoles. So I can put the old consoles into this converter, so I plug the yellow, white and red into the converter, and the converter shoots it out into a HDMI output, which I can then put to the Elgato. So that's how I do all the older games. That AV converter was not cheap as well. It was about $90 AUD, which seems like a lot because I could buy the same converter for $30 if the ports were the other way around, but then it wouldn't be able to function the way that I intend for recording. Okay, is that all of my recording setup? Pretty much. That's how I do all the consoles. When I'm recording gameplay, if I'm doing commentary, I will commonly have both laptops running at the same time. You can do it all together in the one laptop, but it's advisable if you're doing commentary, try and do it on a separate device, just so you're not putting so much information through one laptop, as it can sometimes glitch, it can sometimes lag. So what are we doing? We're trying to beat Brock, are we? So you might see my mouse come onto the screen every now and then like that. That's when I would have done a cut to relieve the video of training, of leveling up Ditto. As you see, level 26. How long did this take? I can't remember. But what I can say is where I sit on the bed, the bed sheet is actually discolored, where sort of like my ass sits to the rest of the sheet. The rest of the sheet, it has like this little dot pattern, and all the dots in the middle are almost completely faded, where the ones around the perimeter of the bed are all still there. So if that gives any indication on exactly how long I'm spending here doing these runs, all in the name of being the very best, like no one ever was. So as you see, the battle with Brock, we've finally got the win. Now, Ditto's own count is at 10. I did lose to Brock a lot more times than what's displayed on the screen. I would say probably about maybe about 7 or 8 more times. As Ditto was leveling up, I tried Brock at level 20, it didn't work. Tried it at level 22, it didn't work. 24, 25, it didn't work. It was only till I hit level 26 and leveled up during the battle, as you just saw, was Ditto finally able to get through Brock. And I thought, well, maybe the run will get a little bit easier now that Ditto's leveled up a bit and through that first gym. And I could not have been more wrong. Ditto, the run did not get any easier. If anything, it got harder. And as you can see, I didn't heal. That's because my head was buzzing. I'm going to give him another own count anyway, so set off that goat scream again. That goat scream was pretty much what was going through my head as I was doing this run anyway, internally. Okay, how far in are we? So, and here you will see there is another issue with the Ditto run. Pretty much after every battle that Ditto has, it has to be healed. It has to be taken to a Pokemon Center, and after a full game's run, that ends up taking just a lot of time. Even though I do have the speed up toggle, which thank God I do, otherwise this run would almost be, in theory, it's not impossible, but it would have taken me, probably 8 times longer because of just how quickly the speed up toggle works on this game. I can slow it down, but there's nothing interesting about watching my character stroll around the overworld for the entirety of the game. It's slow and all this. The speed up toggle is really, really nice to have, especially when you were doing a lot of these runs. I think this run was maybe number 56 or something close to that. Actually, I can actually tell you exactly what run this is if we have a moment to open up the YouTube Studio app. And I did battle that trainer by accident. That wasn't intentional. That is the downside to using very, very quick speed up toggles, is that you will run into trainers inevitably. And okay, playlists. There is 54 in there, so this would have been run number 55. And I have, as Ditto is knocked out again. That wasn't really Ditto's fault. I could have healed, but I just wanted to get out of Mount Moon. I have started doing a Metapod run. I have defeated the first gym and have already run into a problem. I have healed myself in Cerulean City, and now I can't get rid of Metapod's Harden PP, which you could do in Viridian Forest against Metapod and Kakoonas. I don't have that available to me anymore, so I may have to figure out a little something and not heal in Cerulean City. The Metapod run is very challenging. Okay, let's open up another topic of question. And this one says, when did I first play Pokemon? Okay, it was this very game, Pokemon Red and Blue. It was probably the blue version, so I remember playing that more than red. And when Yellow come about, Yellow's the one I play for myself, as it's just got the little bit extra in it. So when did I first start playing Pokemon? I would have been about the age of 7 or so. 7 or 8, that sounds about right. My mum, rest in peace, bought me a Game Boy Color, which I do still have to this day. And I had Pokemon Yellow, Blue and Red, I had Silver, Gold and Crystal on my Game Boy Color. So this came out in 1998, this game, so I would have had to have been at least, yeah, I would have been about 7 or so, maybe 8. And I have a lot of fond memories of, you know, the anxiety look of as the battery is running out in the Game Boy Color and all that. When I look at the Game Boy Color today and I look at the screen, I just realize how small the screen was on the actual handheld console itself. I would barely be able to see it today without some assistance, since my eyesight is growing wonkier by the years. Over the years, look, I am never gonna grow out of playing Pokemon. This really takes you back to your childhood when you play games like this. And I think part of that not wanting to let go of that childhood is that yearning for just a better time in life in general. If I'm being honest, it was a simple time back then, being in Perth, Western Australia during the 90s. It was just such a much more simple time to be alive. And don't get me wrong, there are great things about the modern today generation. The internet is fantastic. We're so connected to the rest of the world. It's so I'm not going to claim that, you know, back then was so much better and all this. Each generation has its strengths. I'm sure that the 90s also had a lot of shit as well. So as you see, I didn't win against that last Nugget Bridge trainer, and this is we will walk past him again soon. I have noted this part of the video, so we attempt Misty here, and Misty doesn't go very well. Again, we have to use Transform on the first Pokemon that comes out, and before like Starmie's out and Ditto's out of PP, and Starmie also does a lot of damage. So I lost to that Nugget Bridge trainer, and now I don't have to battle him. This is something I never actually knew. I didn't win this battle, and now I can't actually redo the battle. So if you lose to him, the battle just passes by as if you won the battle. And now that I'm really thinking of it, I don't think I have ever actually lost to that trainer. I must have at some stage, because I remember being a kid and battling that trainer, and low-key I wanted to join Team Rocket, so I thought losing to him would allow me to join Team Rocket, which it did not. I think I might have done that on Yellow, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that battle would end and you wouldn't be able to replay that battle if you lost. Kind of like the first rival battle. I was not aware, and I'm actually wondering how many people are aware of that. It's kind of like the Pikachu, when he learns an electric attack, he will, if you talk to him, as like he will follow you in Pokemon Yellow, he will sort of show off his attack, and if you're in Rock Tunnel, it will light the tunnel up momentarily. So as Ditto struggles along, its own count is at 15 already. It had been knocked out a few more times, but I'll cut Ditto a little bit of slack here and there as the Screaming Goat goes off once again for another knockout on the incompetent blob of pink. So as we see, now something interesting happens here. This is what I've noted. I've defeated Misty and knocked myself out with Struggle, and because I have Spearow in the party, the battle has registered as a victory. And this is when I thought, oh, well, I mean, I hadn't saved for a little while, and when I played Pokemon Yellow a few years ago, I ended up finding a code that I could rebattle the gym leaders again, and I was like, this is really cool. You didn't have this feature in the original game. You did in later games. You could rebattle all the gym leaders, but not in these original ones. And I did actually find a code which would basically reset. You would still have all the gym badges in your player's menu, but you could actually rebattle the gym leaders as if you hadn't beaten them before with these specific codes. So I decided to dig around some of my old Game Shark files, which is the code used to input into the game's coding file to have these things be able to happen. So I decided to give it a try and see if it would work on this game. So as you see, my mouse is flickering around the screen, and sure enough, it works on blue and red. So I can redo the battle so Ditto can get the legitimate win, and Ditto got knocked out by the trainer that it had defeated earlier on. So, and if you're just doing casual plays, these cheats are fine because, it's just a casual play. But a few peculiar things did happen with this code. As you see, it's registered the trainer battle again and again, which means I am somewhat caught in a loop right now. So I deactivated the code, and as I tried to step away, she wanted another battle. And you know what? Just for the fun of the video, let's just give Ditto another owned count. So obviously, if you turn the code off, it will deactivate, but it will you have to beat the trainer again for the I guess for the game's memory to think that you have defeated that trainer. So I have now deactivated the code. It was a little bit of fooling around, a little bit of humor and all this, but as you see here, we can battle Misty again. So this is I'd say a technique to use just in case for the future. If any of my runs do go this way, I can rebattle a gym leader now, which you are always at risk of this with Koga as well, with him using self-destruct. But basically, what happens with this code is you can actually duplicate events in the game unintentionally. When I used these codes on Yellow, I rebattled all the gym leaders. You can also get Giovanni to reappear. You can pretty much replay the whole story again. But what actually happened is that I had 2 Professor Oaks duplicated in Pallet Town, as if like the opening scene, it was the Professor Oak from the opening scene was standing in Pallet Town, and I could go up to him and actually press A and talk to him. All I got was just an exclamation mark. He didn't actually have any text, but it did kind of break the game a bit. So if you do have a save file on this that you are legitimately playing and you don't want that save file to be compromised, don't use the gym leader rebattle codes. They can do odd things to the game file. Now this trainer, for the second time, because I had to use it for that, it wasn't a mandatory battle, but I used it against that bug catcher. I couldn't get past this trainer simply because Ditto can't get past the Oddish because it can't do enough damage with Absorb. And it's all these sort of like little things with these sorts of trainers that you just don't think about. This one was an accident. I didn't mean to battle him. But because Ditto's transform copies the moveset, if you're against something like an Oddish and your only offensive move is Absorb, which does no damage, despite the level difference. I'm not exactly sure what Ditto's mechanics are and how it copies moves like, and how its stats work, if it copies the other Pokemon's stats. I've heard it copies the other Pokemon's stats, but I'm not 100% sure with how Ditto actually works in these games. And I think I like it better that way, to be honest. But basically, we have to knock out... And now there's another Oddish, and I figured I can't get past this battle unless I either level up, which I really don't want to have to do again at this stage of the game, so I'm going to sell a couple of bag items, and I'm actually going to buy some potions. Because regardless, I've already figured that Ditto is going to have to be level 100, and is probably going to need X attack and defense, those sorts of items to get it through the Elite Four, because it's not going to be able to win. Okay, let's pull up another question, since the next part of the game is a bit lengthy. What is your favorite region in the Pokemon games? Okay, that is a good question. Now, I haven't played Black and White's region. I'm probably getting it wrong, but is that called Callus, or am I thinking of the wrong one? I could be. So what regions have I played? I've played Gen 1, Kanto, obviously. I have played Johto, I have played Hoenn, and I did play the remake of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Okay, and there you see, that trainer had also reactivated from that code from earlier. I have played the remake of Diamond and Pearl, so I am familiar with the... Is it Unova for Gen 4? I've only played it once. So yes, so Gen 4 region. It is Unova, isn't it? No, it's Sinnoh. I think Black and White, might be Unova. See, I don't know about these, so even though I'm very, very knowledgeable with the older games, Gen 4, 5, 6, and I think 7, I will play them eventually. I will get into them. But yes, I have played in Sinnoh's region before, but only once on the remakes. Pokemon Gen 4, Pearl, Diamond and Platinum is heavily regarded by a lot of people as the best in the series. And because I never played the original, I didn't have that comparison. A lot of people have told me that the Gen 4 remakes weren't very well received. They weren't as good as their originals, and as you see, the GOAT is going off in every 30 seconds. Ditto lost this battle so many times, it finally has got through it. So yeah, I didn't mind the remakes, but I didn't have the comparison of the originals. If I played the originals first, then possibly. I've seen footage of the original Gen 4, and to be fair, it does look pretty damn good. So back to the actual question, what is my favorite region? I love Kanto. It's a bit empty, I guess. There is always that speculation of a rumor that there was meant to be another city in Kanto, somewhat in between, say, like Vermilion City and the bike path. There was meant to be like a little island town, but the game didn't have quite enough data to be able to hold that all in the Game Boy cartridge games. Johto, again, very cool region. I really do like the Johto region, but it felt a bit small as well. Again, they were fitting it onto Game Boy cartridge games. Hoenn is fantastic. I love Hoenn. I would put Hoenn above in the terms of creativity and just like aesthetic as well. Hoenn's got, Four Tree City where you live in the treetops. It's got Pacific Log Town where you're out in the ocean in these huts. This is sort of stuff that you didn't have in the previous games. These like really, really creative towns. You know, you had Rossborough City, which was like a real sort of like, almost like an old school kind of like Italy kind of vibe with all the rock kind of buildings. You had Sutopolis City with, you know, all the limestone, kind of like a Greece kind of feel. And of course, you had Holland. What's the name of the? Is it Old Dale Town's the second town. What's the first one called again? Starting town. What's it called? Little Root Town. Little Root Town. There we go. You know, the starting towns were like really nice as well. And in Gen 3, you also had Lava Ridge Town, which is, you know, by the volcano, had the hot springs. It was just very creative, very creative. Each city had its own defining characteristic. Even the beach place with the second gym, Brawley's Gym. Again, the name of the island escapes me, but you see what I mean. You didn't have this in Gen 1 and Gen 2. If anything, all the towns in Gen 1 are kind of... they're not the same, but they're the same vibe, if that makes sense. You know, like Viridian City, Pewter City, you know, Pallet Town's obviously you're starting. But, you know, Cerulean City and Celadon City kind of have similar vibes. Fuchsia's got a similar vibe. Same as Saffron, like they're all just generic cities. As in, when you got to Holland, you sort of had a different, you know, a different natural theme for each city. So I would put Holland above those two. Sinnoh, I've played, like I said, I've played the remake once, but it was a few years ago. So I can't give a proper opinion. I would have to play the game again. But when I was playing the remake of Diamond and Pearl, I do recall actually quite liking Sinnoh's landscape, especially that old chateau, that haunted mansion with Rotom in that forest, Eterna Forest, I think that was called. So I haven't played Black and White properly. What come after that? Was that X and Y? I think X and Y might have been Kalos region. Let me know if I'm wrong. You can correct me in the comments. X and Y I also haven't played. I have got them. I've had them for years and have just never played them. One day I will get to them. So I can't give an opinion about that region. After that, was it Sword and Shield after X and Y? I think it was. I've only played up to the first gym on that, but I was quite impressed. I actually thought that game had potential, but it was around that time when because I never had a Game Boy Advance and I never had a Nintendo DS. I bought a 3DS. It was a few years, I think, after it had actually come out when I went and bought my 3DS. But on my 3DS, I was playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I had Alpha Sapphire. I played that quite a bit. That's why I never actually played Sword and... No, not Sword and... X and Y is because I was busy playing that. And then, of course, the Nintendo Switch got big. I bought a Switch. I brought Shield and Sword, but never really played it that much until the next region after Sword and Shield. Then was it Arceus Legends? I have played Legends a little bit. I've been playing that recently as well. That region is Hisui, if I'm pronouncing that correct. Hisui is beautiful. The artwork in that game is different, but it's a good kind of different. I haven't played the whole region of it, but what I've got so far, just the open world in this kind of... I won't go back as to say Renaissance, but sort of like an old and as you can see, Ditto is being absolutely pasted by Surge, and at level 35 as well. Yeah, really like the Hisui region. Haven't played it all yet though. Now if we go forth, the most recent release, Scarlet and Violet, and the region of, which again has escaped my mind. There's too many towns and too many screaming goats floating around my head as I continuously lose to Surge. Paldea. Oh my god. Considering that I've played that game a lot, the name of it just escaped me just because I had all these different towns floating in my head on Pokemon. Okay, Paldea. I'm going to give my honest opinion on Paldea, and it's going to differ from a lot of people's opinion on the game itself and the region. Paldea, I absolutely adore it. I think the Paldea region is absolutely phenomenal. I think the game is fantastic. A lot of people say the world map is too empty, and is this where I beat Raichu? Is this where he goes for, yes, that is where I beat Raichu after being knocked out about 8 times or so from Surge. Yeah, I absolutely love the Paldea region. A lot of people say that the game feels so empty because there's so much world map with just plains and nothing in it, but when you think about the Pokemon anime, that's literally what the Pokemon world is. It is plains and plains of empty world space. Ash, Misty and Brock, they're always lost somewhere just in the middle of nowhere. And I think that's what I kind of saw in the region. But absolutely love the Paldea region. Out of them all, for the ones that I've said, now the original question was, what is your favourite region? I couldn't just give a simple answer because I need to try and fill nearly 2 hours and 20 minutes of content and try and keep it somewhat entertaining while you watch Ditto get hammered, which is currently 38 times. Out of the regions that I know, pretty well, given Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, a little bit of Hisui, and of course a little bit of Sinnoh, and of course Paldea. Out of all of them, I would say Hoenn is the most creative, but Paldea is the most fun to explore. I love exploring big open worlds, so let me just answer the question. My favorite region, I would still say it's probably Hoenn. For the creative towns, but Paldea would come in as a very close second. Depending on the day, I may actually prefer to hang around Paldea, and not only that, the DLC of Scarlet and Violet, they have really gone all out. Let me tell you, the Japanese themed area in the Paldea, what was it called, DLC? The the Kitakami region, that's right. And there is the other DLC one, but I have not played through all of that one yet. Oh my god, the Kitakami region, mwah, love it. Absolutely reminds me of when I went to Japan last year in 2023. It's very true to very authentic Japanese culture. When I was walking through those areas, I'm like, I've been to this place in real life. That's how I felt when I was going through the Kitakami region. So that sort of, in one way, puts Paldea a little bit above Hoenn for me, is the quality of the DLC. So, funny thing is, I've decided to go and train now, and I ran into this trainer and his Beedrill almost beat me. And I should have just lost to him and just got back to the Pokemon Center instead of blowing all my potions. Okay. Quick drink break and... Okay, so currently I'm on the way to Diglett Cave. Whenever I play Yellow, and this game as well, there are 5 training spots which I will use throughout the... well, 6 actually, that I'll use throughout the course of the game. I don't need any at the start, but just before Mount Moon there's a little grass patch just to the south of Mount Moon. That's an okay spot to train early on in the game. You can get sand shrews around there at level 8 to 10 and they can give out some good points for that stage of the game. The next training spot is right here in Diglett Cave. Diglett's, as you see, can give you around that 185 to 220 experience mark. Generally when you reach Vermilion City, your Pokemon are around the level 20, say the 18 to 25 mark, which is quite nice. Now the Ditto own count hasn't increased. I did get knocked out a few times when a Dugtrio would appear. Dugtrios can appear in Diglett Cave, but as you see, I am level 50, and you might say, oh well, now you have over-leveled, the game won't be as fun. Just because Ditto's level 50, it did not help in the least, and keep watching as you will see that Ditto own count increase more and more throughout the run. The level 50 in Ditto did not change the difficulty of the game in the slightest. It made it possible to get through a couple more trainers, but my goodness, this was just a difficult run. And okay, how far in 47 minutes there? It's still an hour and a half to try to keep people entertained enough. Okay, what about this question? Let's do another one. Where do you get your backing music from? So you do hear the little tunes in the background. I hope in this run I haven't put the Screaming Goat too loud, but it was just giving you an indication of what I was feeling during the run. Okay, the backing music in these Pokemon games. These are none other than my own creations. I recorded these myself. Yes, by trade, as sort of like work as well. I have been teaching music since 2013, and so yeah, it's over a decade, over 10 years now that I've been teaching music for. That is guitar, drums, bass, ukulele, and keyboard are the main 5 instruments that I teach. And I know you're thinking, how many damn instruments do you play? I have 12 different unique instruments. I'm still learning some of them, of course, but yes, I do play quite a lot of instruments. I've been through secondary education places. I have got diplomas in music and all this, advanced diplomas and all that. That's what I spent a lot of the 2010 to 2020 decade doing, was getting up those musical skills and building this own business of teaching others the joy that is music. I encourage everyone to try and pick up an instrument at some point in their life. You don't have to be the next, Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan on guitar, for example. In drums, you don't have to be the next Joey Jordison, or, who's another fantastic drummer, Buddy Rich, for example. You don't have to be the next Buddy Rich. It's fun, it's good for your brain, and some of the best people I've ever met in my life are musicians. Generally very welcoming, very non-judgmental group of people. Of course, you will always get the one or two that stand out a bit as maybe a little bit arrogant. You do get that in music as well, but it's sort of expected given the nature of, you know, how good are you at it. Okay, now this is the hiker that in some runs can be quite difficult to get through, and I thought if Ditto gets a transform in and gets the fence curls in, he should be able to survive the self-destructs. He got hit by one and another, and I'm thinking, there you go, it did 6 HP after it had all of its defense pumped up, which, and as you see, I can't run from all the battles because Ditto's paralyzed. It makes it too slow to escape from Zubats, so I do get knocked out again here, but not really as much as Ditto's fault that time, but it's still fun just to put the count up. So, and look, there was no convenient place to put that on the screen, that's why it is where it is. So yeah, the backing music that you hear in these Pokemon solo runs, I do use these same tracks on other videos occasionally as well. I do use some that I have downloaded off YouTube's audio library. It's royalty-free audio library. I do use some of them in different videos, but for all these Pokemon ones, yes, these recordings are all my own. I use the same unit that I'm using to record my voice in. It's a Rodecaster 2 Pro. I should have said that in the when I was reviewing all my recording setup. Yeah, I use a Rodecaster 2 Pro, which is a primarily it's a podcast unit, but it's also got preamps in there, and you can plug instruments in and record instruments and put microphones into it. So all the guitars that you hear in these songs were all done by my hands. The drums were digitally made on Logic Pro, which is a music production software. Apple's make of music production software. Logic Pro is very good. I quite like it. Bass, yep, I did that myself as well with keyboards. I did that with my MIDI keyboard controller. So yeah, I do have music production skills behind me, as well as the video editing and, you know, recording and mixing and all the stuff. My video editing skills are basic, but they get the job done for what I need anyway. So, as the goat screams, this rival battle was hard. This rival battle was really, really hard to get through. I gave up and I went to Celadon City. So, yeah, and that rival, I never lose to him. I don't know if I've ever lost to him in any of these runs. Usually that rival's under-leveled for even this stage of the game. Even when I play normally, that rival never gives me any problems. In this run, I just could not get past him, which is what keeps these runs interesting, is that you just don't know what challenges are gonna come up for the Pokemon that you're using, and that's why it's been really interesting doing these. Okay. You mentioned earlier that you went to Japan. I did. Okay, I went to Japan in 2023 in May. And what made me want to go to Japan? Obviously, being a Pokemon fan, anime fan, you know, Japan is where all that comes from. So it was always on the bucket list. The October prior year, so October 22 is when my mum sadly passed away, and she was only 51. This is where I began to think, well, you know, I too, you know, one day I am going to grow old. So I decided that it was time to go and see another part of the world, given that I had not left Perth, Western Australia area since I was maybe 2 or 3 years old. So yeah, that's pretty much the reason why I decided to go to the land of the rising sun to begin with. And you'll see this Erica battle, just to cut myself off there. I actually win this Erica battle first try victory. I did need to use some battle items, I think. Did I use battle items? I don't remember. Let's watch and find out. I used wrap. I remember now. I used poison powder on Tangela, and then used wrap to double up the effect. That's how wrap is so broken in Gen 1, because Tangela's poison effect is still taking effect on each turn. So yeah, a bit of a cheap way to battle, but at the end of the day, we are using Ditto. So you have to make some sort of exception for Ditto, just because of how bad it is by itself. So Japan, yeah, I took off from Perth, Western Australia. I stopped over in Singapore, and then we went off to Haneda Airport in Tokyo. And as soon as I got off the plane, I went down this escalator, and there's this big Mario mural, "Welcome to Japan," painted on the wall. I have got some Japan videos on this channel as well. And, I mean, I could sit here and talk about it all day, but Mount Inari was fantastic. It's like a hiking trail. It's not actually a mountain. Mount is sort of referred as hiking trails over there. And I went to Kyoto as well. I went to Osaka, both great cities, as well as Tokyo, just fantastic cities. The people over in Japan are just lovely as well. Everyone is so helpful as well. They're very understanding if you don't speak their language. Ironically, I went to an Italian themed restaurant over in Japan, and the waitress there, God bless her, didn't speak any English, but really went out of her way to do the best that she could with some silly tourist that was trying to order a pizza. The pizza come with egg on it. I've never seen egg on a pizza before, and it was actually quite nice. I downed the whole thing. It was great. So if there's anywhere in the world I can recommend you go to, absolutely 100% Japan. I did not have a single negative experience while I was over there, and I need a drinks break. Okay. So yeah, a lot of the we went to a lot of the temples and stuff that are around Japan. All of them. Meiji Jingu is really good. And I can't remember the names of a lot of them, but these are temple structures that have been standing for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's just a beautiful country. It's just a beautiful place to be, is Japan. Went up in the Tokyo Sky Tower and the Umeda Sky Building over in Osaka, and fantastic. You're up 400 meters, you can see the whole city. And I went to Universal Studio. That was I actually missed the plane home, but maybe that's a story for another time, as we see Ditto get knocked out for the 44th count. Giovanni in Saffron City was very difficult as well. He has never been difficult to defeat. One of the next questions here is, where do I live? Excuse me. Yeah, Perth, Western Australia. We have the distinct title of being the most isolated city in the world, which means our city is the furthest away from everything, which you think would be nice and peaceful, but it's actually quite loud here. I wish I was somewhere quieter. Amazingly, yes, I do wish I was somewhere quieter at times. I live next to a highway. We're hoping to move soon. But overall, Perth is actually... there's not a hell of a lot to do here. You have to go, you have to understand that the city of Perth is home to about 2 million people. So it's the biggest city that we have here in WA, but WA itself as a state is really, really big. And when you look at it on the map, say if we take Geraldton, for example, if you find Perth, Western Australia and Geraldton, Western Australia, you might think, oh, you know, it's just a half hour to an hour drive away when you look at it on the map. Absolutely not. It is a 5-hour drive. And it's like barely even like 20% like the distance of the top of WA to the bottom. For example, there near the top of Western Australia, there's a city called Derby. If you were to drive from Perth to Derby, Western Australia, I will put it in my map right now. Derby, WA. I can't even get a distance time. Okay, there we go. Port Hedland says 17 hours, and that is by car. So there you go. Perth to Port Hedland is 17 hours. So to get to Broome, that's probably another... Oh man, that's probably another 4 hours. And then to get to Derby from Broome, that's probably another 2 or so. So we're talking probably about 21 hours to drive from Perth to the city of Derby in Western Australia. That is just how big. The furthest distance you can travel to get to Perth to Kununurra, which is almost on the border at the top of Western Australia, you are looking at 1 day and 9 hours, 3,246 kilometers. What that is in miles, I'm not 100% sure. But, you know, WA is a really big place. Perth it's a pretty boring city. The best spots in WA are all out in these rural areas, say Monkey Mia, which is up near Port Hedland. You know, that's a 17-hour drive away. Monkey Mia is a really good spot. Rottnest Island is an okay for a day trip. That's close to Perth. At least you have to get there by ferry, mind you. You have to go on a boat. I live in a city called Rockingham, which is about 50 minutes south of Perth. And let me tell you, the beaches in Western Australia, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I went to Bunbury, which is a town, it's about an hour and a half south of where I am in Rockingham, so it's probably about 2 hours from Perth because you take the freeway. But Bunbury is really lovely as well. Again, not much to do there. It's more if you just want to get away from anyone you've ever known. Yeah, I do intend to go. If you go south of WA, you get really nice beaches. You get a little bit of a cooler climate, depending on the time of the year, of course, as well. Bustleton's really nice. It's more of a coastal life where you can just sort of get away from noise. If you go north of WA from Perth, you come to warmer climates, and maybe more sort of like outback kind of vibe, if that puts in perspective here. If you go into the middle of WA inland, a lot of that is just either bushland or when I say desert, I don't mean like the Sahara Desert in Africa. It's not like that, but there's just a lot of unforgiving bush landscape with not a lot of civilized. There's small towns and stuff out there, but if you decide to go to like the middle of WA, let me just pull the map and scroll in towards the middle. I have no towns coming up on my map, but there would be some tours and stuff. Let's say in the middle-ish, I've seen, Newman's not really to the middle. There's Mount Magnet. It's because a lot of the area out there, you don't get a lot of rainfall. It's pretty inhospitable kind of an area. That's why there's not really much out there. So what are we on? We're on to a own count of 47. And am I in Koga's gym? Sorry, I've been looking down at my map. I'm not exactly sure where I am. And I still lost, even though I used all those potions. Okay, I am in Pokemon Tower. And yeah, I struggled with the rockets in here. This is just goes to show the difficulty I had with this run. Even these basic trainers, I ran into that channel by accident. But even just basic trainers in this run were hard. Everything in this run was hard, which I've never been challenged like this. I knew Magikarp was going to be a challenge, but Magikarp got through trainers easier than Ditto. I can say that for certainty. This felt harder than Magikarp's run. So, okay, next let's do another question. Try and keep it rolling. Favorite Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon, I would say it's probably Starmie. I've always had a connection with Starmie because of how good it was in these original games. With a learned set of Surf, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, and Psychic, it would just rip anything apart that was standing in front of it. So I have fond memories of using Starmie throughout my Gen 1. My Gen 1 6, my favourite Pokemon from Gen 1 are Starmie, Gengar, Tauros, Charizard, Arbok, and Pidgeot. That's who I consider my starting 6, not because of the battling abilities, just as my own personal favourites. To battle in Gen 1, and we're not going to count legendaries because obviously Mewtwo would be top, but for battle, non-legendary, I would put Starmie in. I would put Dragonite in. And I'd probably put Jolteon and Flareon in because they are both super strong. Flareon's attack strength is like insane. Tell you what, Dugong was also really good in a solo run on this. But so who have I got? Starmie, Flareon, Jolteon, Dragonite. I don't disagree with putting Dugtrio in. Dugtrio is really quick. And I wouldn't be upset putting maybe like a Venusaur or someone in there as well. Someone who's bulky and tough to take down, especially with Razor Leaf as it's a high critical hit ratio. You can do quite a bit of damage with that as well. No, actually, I want to put Gengar in as well because Gengar can learn Mega Drain as well, which is that grass type attack. Starmie, Gengar, Flareon, Jolteon because it can learn Pin Missile. That's a bug move that gives it an advantage against psychic types, as well as Ghost and such. Yeah. Starting 6s are always tough. Like, what's the best for battling? If we're talking about Gen 2, my favourite Pokemon from Gen 2 is probably Feraligatr, mainly because of how much I used him. He's a fantastic starter. I need another drink break, just one sec. And in Gen 1, talking about a starting 6, I forgot to even mention Alakazam. Alakazam is absolutely brutally powerful. He has to be considered for a starting 6 in Gen 1 as well. So favourite Pokemon in Gen 2, I would say Feraligatr, mainly because he was my boy throughout the whole childhood plays. Tyranitar was a pseudo-legendary as well, you know, big, bulky, very tough to knock out Pokemon. Quagsire was pretty good as well. Same with Lantern. I really liked Ampharos. I used Ampharos quite a bit in my plays. Gen 2 had a few of those like kind of odd ones too, didn't they? Like Smeargle was a bit of a strange one. And as you see, as I'm going through Silphco, I get knocked out in here. Like, I hope you're enjoying watching the run as little as. Hang on, how do I say that? I hope you're enjoying watching the run, because it makes it all worth it, because I did not enjoy playing the run. It was, I say I didn't enjoy playing it. It was still fun, but like, fun as it was irritating. Okay, Meganium. I don't dislike Meganium, but it wasn't nearly as good as the other two. Typhlosion's pretty good, and Feraligator's pretty good. Meganium just didn't match up particularly well throughout that game. Ferret's cool, Noctowl's cool. I'm going to do full evolves. Ledian and Ariados. I really liked Ariados, and I got knocked out again. Yep, against the rival. I did get knocked out a couple of times against that rival as well. What's the count? 51. Wow. Wow. And Spinarak. Spinarak looks so friendly. And Ariados is really cool. I really do like Ariados. Crobat is a beast. Crobat is phenomenal for Gen 2. He's fast, he hits hard. Yeah. Evolving him can be a bit of a challenge. You got to be friendly with him, but okay. Lantern was really good. The baby Pokemon like Pichu, Cleffa, Igglybuff, I don't know about them. Togetic was quite strong as well, but just a Pokemon I never really had that click with. And there's Xatu. Xatu's cool. Okay, Ampharos. I love Ampharos. Bellossom. Didn't really use Bellossom that much. I did use Azumarill a bit. I battled with Azumarill quite a bit, and Azumarill is actually quite good. And the Screaming Goat. I love the Screaming Goat meme. I had to put it in for every time Ditto got knocked out, because it just expresses what I was feeling. Politoed and Sudowoodo I weren't keen on. Jumpluff, I did use Jumpluff a bit in Gen 2. I would use that as my grass pick. Jumpluff wasn't that powerful though. Apom, Sunken and Sunflora, Yanma, they're all throwaways, if I'm being honest. Okay, Espeon and Umbreon, oh, they were beautiful Pokemon and strong. Murkrow, there's another one in there. Slowking, he was the sort of like the boy, the narrator in the Pokemon 2000 movie. Misdreavus was cool. I remember the first time I encountered a Misdreavus, I was like, whoa, what is that? Like, it's another ghost type. Why didn't Morty have a Misdreavus in Gen 2? That did not make any sense. The Ghost Gym did not have the new edition ghost type in Gen 2. That just didn't make any sense. Unknown, they were a pain in the ass. Wobbuffet, okay, let me talk about Wobbuffet. I have an unsound, undying, absolute hatred for Wobbuffet. I don't like him. That goat doesn't express enough of how much I hate Wobbuffet. He just ruined the anime for me. That running gag of him interrupting Jessie just got old after 3 episodes. I was sick of it. There's actually an episode in Pokemon where a group of Wobbuffet are being beaten up by like the bullies, the bad guys in the episode. As I was watching that episode, I was going for the bad guys. I wanted them to beat up the Wobbuffet in that episode. So let's move on from Wobbuffet, which I'm happy to do. Girafarig, that was a cool Pokemon. Fairly strong as well. Pineco and Fortress, I didn't use Fortress a lot, but it was Koga's one got me a few times. Dunsparce, well, what do you say about Dunsparce? Gligar. Steelix was the evolved form of Onix, but Steelix just wasn't that good either, was it? Defensively it was strong, but the rest of its stats were pretty average. Snubble and Granbull. Quillfish, I didn't use him that much. Scizor, I think everyone sort of liked Scizor a bit, being evolved from Scyther, which is a cool Pokemon. Shuckle, my boy. My defensive boy. Shuckle is so goddamn strong defensively. If you teach Shuckle can it learn Double Team in Gen 2? I'm sure it can. I'm sure it can, because I'm sure I taught my Shuckle Double Team. So in Gen 2, and even going on in further gens as well, Shuckle Gen 2 Learn Set. I know I should be commentating on the game, but here it is. I'm trying to get past the rival and I keep getting knocked out. That's all I can really say. And I've said that in 5 seconds, and I want to keep these runs as authentic as possible. That's why I have all the game in it, just sped up. Okay, what is good about Shuckle is that it has... Shuckle can learn Flash. It can also learn Mud Slap, which can reduce the enemy's accuracy. Shuckle can also learn Toxic, which will accumulate poison damage over... And it can also learn Curse, so it can raise its defense as well. And it can learn Double Team, so Shuckle can lower enemies' accuracy, it can raise its own evasion. It can also use Sandstorm as well. Like, it's a Shuckle is it's a tactical Pokemon, and if you use those real cheap strategies, the thing can just be impossible to knock out. Now, in saying that, Shuckle doesn't have a lot of HP, which is what it has to compensate for having those massive defense stats. And when I talk about massive defense stats, we're talking like mind-boggling defense stats. It ends up with like 500 defense and like special defense, which is just insane. It's like almost double what like strong Pokemon would have. So it makes up for that by not having a lot of HP. Now, if you throw in a Machamp or anything that can learn a Seismic Toss or one of those level-based damage moves, Shuckle gets creamed. That's where Shuckle's biggest weakness is. And now this battle here, I marked this battle. Marowak can't actually damage ducks. The only physical move Marowak has is Bone Club, and the enemies don't run out of PP, so I actually get through that battle with ducks. And even though it wasn't Ditto that finished that trainer off, look, by this point, I was just over it. It's just a random NPC, you know, overworld trainer that Ditto, in theory, could defeat. So I'm like, I don't care anymore. When we come up against Giovanni, oh boy, Ditto got smashed. And I'd say smashed as an understatement. We have to use Transform on Nidorino, so we're already sort of at a disadvantage because now we come up against Rhyhorn and we just get smashed. As the goat screams on, it's that's all I can really say, is that it just did not do well against Giovanni. I didn't even beat Giovanni. I had to level up. I had to get to, like, I think this might be the part here. I actually went to Pokemon Tower and I actually leveled up, which you will see soon. If we're going across more Gen 2 Pokemon, Heracross was pretty strong as well. He was quite a tank. Sneasel, wasn't fond of him, to be honest. Ursaring I never really used. Makago, Slugma, Makago, it's a Gen 2 Fire type, which I guess is worth a mention, of course. Pillarwine, I didn't use that much. Corsola, Octillery, I did use Octillery a little bit in my plays. Octillery's quite a sturdy Pokemon. Delibird's useless. Mantine's rare and annoying. Skarmory is too hard to catch. Houndoom is really, really good. Flamethrower, Crunch, Fire Dark. He looks cool. Everyone loved Houndoom. Kingdra is, Claire's Kingdra was a bit of a pain in the ass. Donphan was just too slow. Porygon 2, never had anyone to trade with, so I didn't really have him. Stantler, Smeargle, Tyrogue. Hitmontop, you had to evolve him by having the same attack and defense, I think it was. And then there was Smoochum, Elekid, and Magby, the baby Pokemon, which, you know, why were they introduced? I guess they maybe got some younger, maybe some female fans really took to some of these cuter Pokemon, if you want to call them that. Miltank. What more can we say about Miltank in Gen 2 and bloody Whitney? Blissey, of course, as well, evolve with Chansey. And this is where we get into the three dogs, Tyranitar, Lugia-Ho-Oh, and Celebi, the legendaries. Look, my favourite Pokemon in Gen 2, I would say Shuckle and Feraligatr are the ones who, and Ampharos as well, they're the ones that stood out the most for me. And Houndoom as well, he was quite nice. My favourite Pokemon for Gen 3, Swampert. I use Swampert a lot. I did not like Sceptile. Sceptile was really, really bad in the original one. Sorry, I'm just looking for, is this where I go through the Safari Zone? Yeah, I've got the money for it now. Yeah, as you saw just a minute ago, I didn't even have enough money to get into the Safari Zone because I'd been knocked out that many times. Gen 3 Pokemon. I'm just trying to find a list. List of Gen 3 Pokemon. There we go. Good old Wikipedia. Okay. Oh, that one's not good. It's too big. Index. There we go. Sceptile. I wasn't fond of Sceptile because of how bad he was in the original. Blaziken and Swampert were much better. Mightyena was cool. Linoone was great. Linoone would use the pick-up item ability in Emerald, which was very useful. Beautify and Dustox were cool bug Pokemon that were added. Ludicolo, Shiftry were... Alright, I'm just going to skip through all these, mentioning all these Pokemon. I'm just going to get to my favourites. My favourite in Gen 3, I quite liked Aggron. I liked Swampert. I quite liked Camerupt as well. I quite had a thing for him. I liked Lunatone was okay. Wishcatcher was cool. I quite like Wishcatcher and Crawdon. I thought they were alright. Duskull and Dusclops and Bannet, those ghost types, they were quite cool. Tropius was he's a bit of an underrated Pokemon. He was quite cool. Celio and Walrein, they were good. Salamence, a big dragon. Yeah, I would say my favourite in Gen 3 is probably Swampert. I used him the most. Gen 4 I don't know enough about, but let me just Gen 4 Pokemon. Okay, so this was Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup. I usually always pick water types to start with. That's what I did with when I did it in the remake of Diamond and Pearl. I used Empoleon, who was actually kind of bad. He was quite easy to knock out. I didn't think much of Empoleon, to be honest. Staraptor was quite cool. I quite liked him. Luxray, oh, I love Luxray. He's great. Just having a flick through. A lot of people started with Gen 4. A lot of people really love Garchomp as well. Garchomp is really good. But Gen 5 Pokemon and 6, I just don't know enough about. So to really give a strong opinion, but from Gen 1 and Gen 2, you heard what my favorite Pokemon were. That's sort of, my heart will always lie with Gen 1 as friggin' Ditto is knocked out again. I can't believe I got knocked out by that trainer. So I let Lapras do it just to spite Ditto again. I mean, with battle items, Ditto will beat that trainer fine. So, as long as Ditto's winning the main battles. So 59 times it's on the knockout for. Okay. What have we got here? There's still 52 minutes left. Oh my, I can't believe how long this run took. It takes some dedication to do this, I will admit. Drinks break. I quite like this song that I made, this one in the background. Quite soothing. God, I love that scream. I will never get sick and tired of hearing that scream. I hope all of you aren't getting sick and tired of hearing it, but I love it. I love that goat scream. It just works for so many things. Let's do another question. What other games do you play? Are there other games that you enjoy other than Pokemon? Absolutely. If you follow the channel a lot, you will see that I play quite a few WWE games, those old school WWE games. I played a lot as a kid and a teenager. We're talking SmackDown, Shut Your Mouth, Here Comes the Pain, the SmackDown vs. Raw series, and the original ones, SmackDown 1 and 2 on PS1. First console I ever owned, I do believe it was a PS1. I can't remember if I got my PS1 first or my Game Boy Color. We're going too far back. But on my PS1, Crash Bandicoot was a game I played for a long time. Is this where I train in Pokemon? In Pokemon Tower? It is. I got Ditto up to level 70. I had no choice. Ditto was just getting beaten too easily. I was saying about my 6 training grounds. First one is a little bit south of Mount Moon. Second one is Diglett Cave. Third one is Pokemon Tower. Training ground number 4 is where the bike path is, where the grass field is there. That's not a bad spot to train as well. Number 5 is Seafoam Islands. That's a decent spot to train. Same with the Pokemon Mansion. That's not too bad as well. And then, of course, Victory Road, and then the last cave, Mewtwo's Cave. As you progress, you just kind of move your training ground. So, other games. Final Fantasy VIII is the first Final Fantasy game that I played. That's what got me into that series. I'm a big fan of the Final Fantasy series. I will eventually play them all as well. I've played Final Fantasy 1. I've played the start of 2 and I think 4 or something like that. I've played a little bit of 6. Need to get back into 6 because I was quite enjoying that as well. I have passed the original 7. I haven't played the new ones, the remakes or anything like that, or any of the spin-offs. Final Fantasy VIII, one of my favourite games of all time. I've played the start of 9. I need to get back into that as well. Okay, Final Fantasy X, phenomenal. Love Final Fantasy X. 10 Part 2, that was also really good as well. From Yuna's perspective, after sort of all the events that happened in Final Fantasy X. 11 was online. I haven't played 11 or 14, the online ones. Final Fantasy 12 was really good as well. I have played and passed that. I've played a very small bit of 15. Not 15, 16. I haven't played 15 or any of the 13 series. Kingdom Hearts, of course. Love Kingdom Hearts. Other games. If we go back to the PS1 days, I played Command and Conquer. It was ported to PS1. It's like a war simulation game. Fun to play, not fun to hear about it happening in real life, if that's any consolation. as well for some people have an opinion on those sorts of games, saying that it's turning war into entertainment and I see the point of view in that, but at the end of the day, it's a strategy war game. If we could have war all be compressed into video game format and we didn't have it in real life, it would be a better world. Hopefully, maybe one day the world will learn that war. Look how many wars there have been over the course of history. Has it ever worked? No. There is another knockout as well against that Nidoqueen, and Ditto's level 70. The world has had many wars in the history of humankind. Has it ever worked? Not really. Has it? Like World War II, it didn't work out for Germany. It's when will humanity learn that there is probably better ways to solve problems? Well, there are better ways to solve problems than going for armed conflicts. As you see in the history, all in history, it just doesn't work. When will humanity learn that it just isn't the way? Okay, other games. Let me turn around and look at my shelf. Mario games have always been up there. I had a Super Nintendo. Actually, the Super Nintendo was probably the first console I had. Now that I think about it, I had Super Mario Bros. As the 4-in-1, the Super Mario Bros. All-Stars. Donkey Kong is another game that was always up there. The Sims is a game which I am really into. I do a few videos on the channel on The Sims. Yu-Gi-Oh! As well, absolutely love Yu-Gi-Oh! Doing a great series on that now where I'm rebuilding all the old starter and structure decks on Legacy of the Duelist and setting them against each other. I have 2 save files with the cards. Took me a long time to do that as well. The GTA series. I'm big on Grand Theft Auto. I played Grand Theft Auto 1 back in the day on PS1, that bird's eye view with the really blocky graphics. I've never played GTA 5 though, or GTA 4, strangely enough. I played the PS2 ones all. Passed them all 100%. GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, Vice City Stories, and Liberty City Stories. Vice City Stories came after Liberty City Stories in release date, but I've 100% all of the PS2 titles. What other games am I really into? And maybe just your other games that are out there. Need for Speed Underground 2 was really good. Worms Revolution was good. Risk, that's always fun to play. Board game-esque kind of games I've always sort of liked as well. And of course, let me just do a quick scroll through my playlists. What games have I done on the channel? SmackDown games, the WWE games. Park Beyond, that's one that was released on not too long ago. No, I say not too long ago, it's probably a little bit old now. But Park Beyond, that's a park simulator, you sort of build a theme park. I had Theme Park World on PS1, that's where I got into that. Super Smash Bros. Melee, it's on there. Tekken, yeah, I played Tekken back on the PS1 and PS2. Yeah, that's what I've said then is mostly The Simpsons Hit and Run. What a classic game that is as well. Chess, yeah, board game. I do like simulator games. If I'm going to be completely honest, I really do like a good simulator game. So, as you see, we are still, and I put the emphasis on still trying to get through Giovanni. Yeah, I think this is the part. Yeah, I gave up on Giovanni and I decided to go and do Blaine, because I figured that Blaine would probably be a bit easier. So yeah, that's an example of some of the other games that I play. Unfortunately, I am bound by the limitations, as everyone else, of having 24 hours in a day. I really do want to play other games in the Final Fantasy series, and there's plenty of games out there I want to play. I just trying to find the time to do it all. Okay, how much longer do we have? 42 minutes. Okay, let's pull out another one. I'm going through, what am I going through? Pokemon Mansion at the time with an own count of 63. Hopefully by now I just haven't put everyone to sleep with these questions. I had to try to think of something to try and keep the game. I forgot to get an escape rope from here as well. So, as you must understand, I was playing this run for so long, my brain it wasn't operating at full capacity. It had been sort of just put into an autopilot mode where I'll forget to do things. What are your goals for the channel, and do you intend to do solo runs outside of Gen 1? That is a good question. My goal for the Respawn 255 channel was to be this historical library of gameplay. Ideally, I'd like to have every game ever made on it, but I don't know if that's even humanly possible. It's not possible for one person. You would have to have a group of people to cover every game ever made. Maybe one day in a lifetime's work, we will see, but just, yeah, like a historical library, and to achieve things in gaming that people wouldn't have thought possible. It's kind of what this is all about for me. And of course, you know, just building upon and making this into a successful channel, I guess, is the main thing I would say the goal is. It's not really something I've thought about that much, to be honest. Now, as for solo runs, yes, when I have finished with Gen 1, I have done a couple in Gen 2 already. I've done Chikorita, which was horrible, and I've done Feraligatr, which was really good. Yes, I do intend to do runs on Gen 2. The thing with Gen 2, if I'm beating Red on all of them, I will probably have to get almost every Pokemon in Gen 2 to level 100. And I do mean doing 251 solo runs, not just the Gen 2 Pokemon themselves. Yes, I do intend to do 251 solo runs on Gen 1. Yes, I do intend to do them on Gen 3 as well. I intend to do them for all the Pokemon games if... Is it even possible? We will see. I do intend to do solo runs pretty much forever as I am playing games and in my gaming career. This is an interesting question as well. Is it financially viable to have gaming as a profession? Let's talk about this for a little bit. I should have talked about this earlier in the video, but the video gaming industry itself is growing so rapidly and so quickly every year. It's like a 20% increase or something. I was reading it on the internet. Take what you read on the internet with a grain of salt. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm picking up items around the world map to boost my money so I can buy the X-Attack items, I think. But let me say, the video game industry is rapidly growing every year. And with tasks and stuff in our daily lives becoming more automated, technology's getting better, we have more free time because we are finding quicker ways to do things and all this. Let me say, there has never been such a high demand for entertainment in different forms of content. It isn't just gaming. Let's say a cooking channel, for example. There is an audience for every niche. There is an audience for cooking channels. There is an audience for mechanic trucks, on cars. There is an audience for some of the weirdest stuff you can imagine. That's the I would say the beauty of how we are as people. We all enjoy different things and all this. So absolutely, game creation, soundtracks in games, animation, even though, you know, everyone says about AI doing it all for us, we are decades, probably 100 years away from AI being at the level, I think, of what we are perceiving. Let's not forget that sometimes when I am trying to buy groceries, the bagging item cannot figure out how many items I have in that area. When it comes to AI, I embrace that it will make tasks that we don't want to do easier. But I think there is a level of what we should allow AI to take over from our lives. I am all for driverless cars because I think it will make roads safer. When you drive around the Perth area, my God, the driving here is atrocious. I don't know how some of these people are issued with driver's license, with how poorly some people will drive. That's why I am so for AI driving driverless cars. I do think it will actually cut down commute times and all that, because all the AI driving, it's synced, it knows what everything it's doing. When you have human drivers, you have a separate brain in each head processing at different speeds. AI would process everything together. That's how I sort of think of it, but I think we're still quite a few decades away from really having that. So in terms of, there has never been a bigger demand for entertainment in this world in all forms, so absolutely it is viable for gaming to be a career. I still haven't beaten this rival battle. Oh no, I have. It's Giovanni that I'm trying to get through. That's why I've bought all the hyper potions. Ditto needs these items to just physically be able to win. So the X attack now, because I'm using X attack, I am getting the unintended badge boost glitch happening as well. For those who don't know what that is, every time you beat a gym on this, you get a slight boost in your stats. When you modify your stats with an X attack, or even one of those items where, one of those moves like a defense curl where you raise the defense stat, the rest of those stats get a slight boost if you have that badge. It's unintended, but it is a way to completely break the game as well. And when you have a weak Pokemon like this, that mechanic that you can sort of manipulate does come in very handy. So, I do intend to make more backing music as well, eventually. But you know, with game development, video games, there's more and more of them being made. That means that the need for game developers is growing. The need for, you know, people to make the music behind the games, for the animations, for the artworks. AI will assist us. It won't do it for us, of course. Absolutely. The demand for it has never been higher. Okay. What are the biggest challenges of running YouTube channels and gaming channels like this in general? Well, I would say the biggest challenge of this, something that pops to mind immediately is storage space. I have very quickly run out of space on hard drives, on laptops. If you ever intend to do a gaming channel like this, it can be for anything really, but you will find that your storage space disappears very, very quickly. Challenges, when you are first starting out doing YouTube channels, obviously it's tough. when you don't have any subscribers, like, I mean, I don't have a lot of subscribers at the time of this video as well. I'm at 923, I think. If I can just pull up, yes, 923. You know, it's tough when you're putting out so many hours into projects like this and they don't get watched a lot. It is difficult to keep motivated at that. So as you see, I'm level 72 right now, and I will give a little bit of a spoiler. Ditto fails numerous times at this battle. As you see, Horn Drill, I do have the option of using X speed and X accuracy, and I can one-shot Giovanni's whole team with Horn Drill if I want to. But I will reveal that Ditto just is not strong enough. As it is using Transform on a Rhyhorn, it is getting very poor speed. There is another Goat Scream. Dugtrio is outspeeding me as well. I did realize now that I'm just not going to be able to beat Giovanni at this level. I did try a few more times, but eventually you will see me head off to Pokemon Tower, where I put in a lot of time. Again, it isn't in the video because it would have just made it too long. I don't know how many hours I spent leveling up in Pokemon Tower. But, and when you use speed up toggles, your game clock isn't fully accurate, so take that with a grain of salt. I think I went to buy some of the X items here. I don't know exactly when the training period come up, but it is coming up. What else is challenging on doing a gaming channel like this? Finding quiet areas to record stuff in is occasionally challenging as well. The editing process, I don't have an editor. I do all of this on my own. I do all the editing. I did the music myself. I do the recording. I edit the videos together. I only do basic level of editing. I can do more, but I edit for what's necessary. I'm trying not to go sort of massive on the production and just make it silly. I like to keep it as raw and as authentic as possible as well. There is also the challenge of just understanding algorithms and how these things work, as well as that as well. So now that I've used X accuracy, I did decide to go for the Horn Drill method a little bit here. As you see, even with the X speed, Dugtrio is still outspeeding me. And I pretty much wasted 2 of the items. I have a Hyper Potion, but you see, it just isn't working. Dugtrio is fast, it's strong, and Lapras managed to get a win. But Ditto own count at 67. So amazing, really. Now, I think this might have been the time where I just realized there is still a Nido King and a Nido Queen to get through, and it just is not viable. So the reason why I go to Pokemon Tower to train is because you have that little square patch that you can heal on, and because Ditto can use Transform, get Nightshade, and just bang, just get a one-hit knockout. That is why I decided to pick Pokemon Tower as the training ground. It took a long time. I honestly could not tell you, but I did grow my Ditto to level 100 in here. And even at level 100, those stats are absolutely dreadful. Most Pokemon would have a good stat is like a minimum of about 220. 250 is really, really good. 300 is elite. You do get a few that get to that 300 mark. Anything below 200 you'd say is above average. Ditto's floating around that 150 to 170 mark in its stats. It's absolutely dreadful. It's a terrible Pokemon, and it's not built for doing solo runs. However, a lot of people did request Ditto, so I decided that I had to do it at some point. And how long does this have left? 27 minutes, and I will 100% admit that I have blown through all the questions that I had written down that I had seen. By all means, leave questions in the comments, ask me how I do stuff. If there's anyone out there that sees this and wants to try it themselves, absolutely go for it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun doing solo runs. It does. You will consume a lot of your time. You may not go outside for a few days at a time as well. Actually, I can think of a question off the top of my head which someone might ask: what advice do you have for someone starting channels? I've been doing this channel for, is it over 2 years? It would be over 2 years. When did I start the Respawn 255 channel? I'll be able to tell you in the analytics. I think it was August 2021. Yes, 22nd of August 2021 is when I started the channel. What's been successful on the channel is my shorts. I do Pokemon cards and I do like shorts of opening them. That's been a very, very popular thing that has really helped the channel. My top content as of this recording at this time, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses sits at just over 10k views. Duelist of the Roses was a very interesting Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. Second is Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, when I was going through the old chateau. That got over 10k as well. So yeah, I guess that's another thing as well. I haven't really had a video that's blown up yet, but what advice could I give? In the early stages, as sort of wrong as this might sound, don't go crazy with the editing and the production. In the early stages, if you go mad with all that sort of stuff, you will burn yourself out very quickly. You will do this amazing work for basically no watch, no like viewing reward. I would say for your first 1,000 subscribers, you know the old saying, quality over quantity? That kind of doesn't work in this sort of scenario. Your first 1,000 subs, remember them. They're the ones that were at your channel first. They're the ones that supported you during your developing stages. I would say, as long as your product isn't just shit, to put it blunt. Like, there's not a lot of production in these solo runs, but it gets to the point. Make sure your content gets to the point of, and there you go, I noted that down. I got hit by Horn Drill. No, it wasn't Horn Drill, it was Fissure. Rhydon used Fissure on me and knocked me out, and I wasted like 5 Hyper Potions or something. And at this point, yeah, when you do, and that was an accident. I pressed that thinking Rhydon would outspeed Lapras or knock Lapras out, and I accidentally knocked Giovanni's Rhydon out with Lapras. Which shows how little special stat rock Pokemon have on this game. But I got around this. I used the same method I used against Misty. I reactivated the gym code so I could rebattle Giovanni again, which you will see in a minute. My mouse will probably float across the screen. I do activate the code so I can rebattle Giovanni, so Ditto can get the win itself legitimately. A time of 66 hours, even though the speed up toggle probably has put that way out, I can guarantee you it is exactly what it felt like. It felt like I had been playing this for 66 hours. What's that in days? That's nearly 3 straight days. That is, in a nutshell, that is probably what happened in real life, to be honest. I don't know how many days I was doing this for. I'd prefer not to keep track of it because it will somewhat make me question my existence. But I decide to give Ditto the X speed and the X accuracy so I can basically stomp my way around, and then I decide to extract a little bit of revenge on this Rhydon, and not only that, it's because I ran out of PP for the other moves as well. I decided to use Horn Drill to get my own back as well. Even though you could say that the win is a bit cheap because I'm using battle items, when it comes to Pokemon like Ditto, you don't really have that much of a choice. You have to use a sort of a cheap method to get the job done if you want to do it legitimately. And while it's technically not against the rules of the game to use battle items, in fact it's almost encouraged by some of the NPCs, so just that point of view is it's kind of like using a sand attack method to lower the enemy's accuracy, I guess. This rival battle was very much the same. I have to use battle items. Again, because I've used agility 3 times, I do get a badge boost glitch. All my other stats raise along with it, which does make the battle a bit easier. So all I have left is Whirlwind, and I will have to use Struggle, and I do use my last 2 Hyper Potions to get through. I make the decision to use those battle items, otherwise Ditto probably doesn't win. Ditto probably gets knocked out every time, so yes, even the AI uses healing items on themselves, so I guess it's in the interest of fairness that I do get to use it as well. But gotta get through the run somehow. So we are finally going up the road to Victory Road. There's a minute or 2 here if you need to take a piss break or get another drink. Sure enough, go for it. Nothing's really interesting is going to happen through Victory Road as per usual. The video has 20 minutes left. So, I mean, if you have watched this like in its entirety so far, man, my appreciation goes out to you. So, what was I talking about earlier? Yeah, advice for if anyone's starting YouTube channels and they've maybe only got they're still in the tens digits of subscribers. Yeah, my suggestion is try not to do too much production in your final product, and just get a consistent upload schedule as well. Like, upload, if you can't do it daily, at least do it once a week. I upload daily, and I think that's why my channel count has grown, is because of the daily uploads. The more chances you have to get your content seen, as long as it's not just a complete, like you're just throwing content up there and it's just of really poor quality. As long as the gameplay is good, and if you're doing commentary, a lot of people have requested that I do commentary for all the games, as it just makes for a better product. I agree on that as well. Commentary does, it takes its time as well, but sometimes you just want to sit there in silence and play a game as well. But I understand that people like commentary because they like having the perspective of the player. Maybe they know a few tips on the game as well, particularly in the Sims, those early ones. When I was doing my early Sims games titles, a lot of people said, like, God damn, you are efficient as hell at this game. But I did no commentary on it, and a lot of people asked for it because they wanted to know why I was doing some of the things I did. So I get it, yeah, and I'm trying to do commentary more often. I'm trying to do commentary for almost everything now because people seem to quite enjoy the commentary side. So here we go, we are at the Elite Four. We are at the gate of Indigo Plateau. We are going to take on the Elite Four. We do not have a lot of money left, as you see. And so I decide, eventually there is another cut part in this, which you will see coming up very soon, because obviously Ditto cannot get the job done. But what I did is I went across all the overworld. I battled, even though I'm level 100. You also saw is I also had rare candies in my bag. That was because after doing this for so long, the brain was not braining, and I did actually forget that I had rare candies as an option to level up. But in a little while you will see a cut in this video, and I will go along all the overworld battling the trainers, collecting up money, and I end up spending all the dosh on X accuracies, attacks, defense, yada yada, all that, and 4 restores, as you will see very, very soon. Oh. Yeah, I too. I've been talking for nearly 2 hours straight. I'd usually, if I'm in social situations, I'm usually the one that's got their mouth closed. So talking this much for me is a new experience as well. As I just kind of vibe to my track. I was quite pleased with this one. I reckon I really do actually. This is a sort of chill track that I could see myself listening to. One thing that is... Okay, another challenge with doing all this is wearing a headset for prolonged times. God damn, it makes my ears itch and get warm, and... Sorry, I need another drink break. When you talk for this long as well, there's another knockout. We've hit the big 7-0. I need another drinks break. Oh. Fanta. Fanta's a quality drink. It's not good for you, but it's... we're all gonna die one day anyway, aren't we? So, as you see, Ditto is just getting absolutely pasted by Lorelei. And that, it's not even a contest. And very soon you will see that I decided to do what I did to get the victory in the Elite Four. I do understand, as you will see in the coming minutes, that the way I beat the Elite Four may be considered as cheap, but there was no alternative. On its own, Ditto just cannot do it. It doesn't have the strength, and because you are using Transform on... In theory, you could use, you could deplete your PP and use Struggle. I haven't mentioned this yet in the run. The reason why I haven't used the Struggle strategy is because I wanted to do this run with Ditto being Ditto, using Transform. That's why I decided to do the run in this manner and not use the Struggle strategy, because if I did that, it kind of takes away from the uniqueness that Ditto actually is. There is one other Pokemon that learns Transform in this game, and that is actually Mew. Mew learns Transform by level up. But because I wanted Ditto to win this game being as a Ditto as possible, if that makes sense, that's why I only used Transform, and I opted not to go for the Struggle strategies. I wanted Ditto to do this as using a copied moveset from There is a strategy you can do with this as well. You can use an ether, so you can transform into like the second or the third Pokemon, of course, as well. But I thought, look, let's try and avoid using a strategy like that. Yeah, as I said, let's do it as a Ditto. And as I was running out of healing items and money, I do believe this is where I may have decided to go around. I went around the world map, I picked up all the items and the hidden items that you'd usually pick up with the item finder. Went all around, and this was also, I think, my brain not braining and remembering that all the X-Attack items are purchasable in Celadon City, not the other Pokemarts. So Hyper Potions are fine for Ditto, but I think I ended up using Max Potions because it does have a little bit more than 200 HP, but again, brain somewhat not braining just due to the fatigue factor of doing a run like this. And I finally managed. So this is what you see here. I went along like cycling road and all this. I may have actually meant to cut this out of the video, but I left it in so I could talk about it, I think, at this stage. And as you see, even at level 100, Ditto still takes damage every battle. This is the weakness with Ditto. Because it has to use Transform, it's always basically going second. It's always taking hits. And we're talking about a Pokemon that's not that strong to begin with. And I actually have to I have to use a healing item to get past this trainer, even though Ditto had lost a fair chunk of its health. If I'm using healing items on these trainers, I'm almost defeating the purpose of beating them, because a Hyper Potion's 1500. I only won 580 from that battle. But, well, this is what I do. All the gyms are beaten, so I can't rebattle those trainers, and I kind of wish I did, so I could have got more money throughout the game. But this is what I did. This is the learning experience behind these runs, is you never can really anticipate what challenge is going to come up. So there is 10 minutes left on this solo run episode. And to be fair, I am glad that I've got Ditto out the way. I did start a Metapod one, as I said earlier, which is going as well as you probably would think. But Ditto was one of the worst ones that's to do. Other tough ones that are coming up, Raichu is actually going to be very tough, because Raichu only has electric attacks. So I'm going to have to use Struggle to get past Brock. Obviously, Metapod and Kakuna, they're not fun. Caterpie and Weedle are going to be tough. Eevee is also going to be very tough as well. Actually, I'm not even sure if Eevee can legitimately do it. And there goes the screen. We have been knocked out again. 73 knockouts, hey? What a... I'm under the impression that Ditto has probably been knocked out more times than it's actually won battle in total. Ditto's win-loss record is like at 20% wins. So, what other Pokemon are challenging? Tauros. You think Tauros would be really good? He only starts with Tackle, and he won't learn anything until like level 28 as well. So even though Tauros is a strong Pokemon, his moveset to begin with will put him at a disadvantage. I haven't done Tauros yet, surprisingly. I don't think I've done Pidgeot yet either. I haven't done my favourite 6. Yeah, I think I've done Arbok, I've done Charizard. Wait, have I done? Yeah, I'm sure I've done Arbok. So, So yeah, who else is there to do? Dodrio, I haven't done him yet. Well, the whole gender thing of Pokemon wasn't a thing until Gen 2, so I don't really know at this stage what they were. So yeah, I haven't done Dodrio. I haven't done Farfetch'd. I haven't done like Clefable or Wigglytuff or those normal types yet. I haven't done Chansey yet either. So some of those normal types, some of the normal types have actually been the best runs, and that's because they haven't got any moves against them that's really super effective. The only move super effective against normal types is fighting, and you don't encounter a lot of them during the game. So that's why normal types like, oh my god, Raticate and Persian slaughtered this game. Raticate and Persian both did phenomenally well. Out of all of them, Mewtwo is probably always going to be the best. I did him fairly early on when I wasn't quite as quick as doing the runs, because I've gotten better at doing them. But Mewtwo only took like 38 minutes, and this is before I was really that good with the runs, which really shows how good Mewtwo was. Now that I've practiced these runs a bit, I could probably do Mewtwo in less than that. So as you see, we do still struggle a bit with, I'm pretty sure I get hit by, Machamp did knock me out with a fissure as well. I don't know if it was in this particular battle or not, but there was a battle against Bruno where, yes, I got hit by fissure by Machamp. It might have happened already. I was probably... Yeah, the fatigue is setting in. I've been talking for nearly 2 hours. I think I've already been hit by that fissure. Yes, Machamp did hit me with a fissure in one of the battles as well. But on its own, Ditto struggles to get through Lorelei, struggles to get through Bruno on its own. Agatha's a little bit easier because I can get Dream Eater and Nightshade. Sorry, Dream Eater and Hypnosis and Dream Eater. I could technically beat Agatha a bit easier, but... So as you see there, I used Hypnosis, got lucky with it. I think Hypnosis is pretty much a 50-50. Also, I can't remember exactly what its accuracy is. I think it might be 55. But as you see, we have gotten through Agatha. Against Lance, just using Ditto normally, Ditto hasn't got a chance in hell. I have to use the X items. Gyarados would knock it out faster than anything, especially like Ditto would lose at least half its health legitimately against Gyarados. And then you've got 2 Dragonairs, you've got an Aerodactyl and a Dragonite. You know, they all know Hyper Beam. They all can do a lot of damage to you. Ditto, on its own, without these X attack boosting items and X defense and all that, it has no chance, unfortunately. So Ditto does claim the cheaper sort of victory, but we have to cut Ditto some slack. It was never built to do this. So, like Magikarp, we will force it to win. See, look, that Hyper Beam, even with all those X defense, did half my health. And even with all that, even with the badge boosting and everything going on from raising my stats, it still didn't even knock out Gyarados one hit with Hydro Pump. But we did get the rest of his team down, so this is, unfortunately, it is the way that we have to do the Elite Four, but it is the only plausible way of actually doing it. unless you're relying completely on a luck-based strategy. So here is the rival battle. We transform into Pidgeot, and I will set up Pidgeot itself. I wonder what that does. So it used Mirror Move and it just used Transform. Does that... It would copy its own stats that I just copied, so technically nothing happens. Is that what happens? I couldn't tell you. And remember, the AI doesn't have... so Pidgeot's going for Sky Attack, so I'm using the X Defense. And look at that, 50 damage. It's still doing 50 damage. That's still like a fifth of my health. That's just putting it into perspective. I'm 39 levels higher and it's still doing a fifth of my health. That's how weak Ditto is. So I decided to take no chance with the rival. I absolutely bolster Ditto up to its absolute max with all these X items, because understandably Ditto would not win. Ditto would not defeat the rival. It wouldn't even get to the rival. So we're going to close out these moments watching Ditto basically cheat to win. Well, it's legally cheating in a way, isn't it? Because battle items aren't like... There's no rule saying you're not allowed to use them, so we're just using what's within the rules to gain an advantage. Sky Attack, good. Hydro Pump only did, what, 9 damage or something because of all the X items, but there we go. There we have it. Ditto's run is complete after all, and its own count is at 73. Look, to be fair, it did get knocked out more times than that, but that is a fair enough count just to put into perspective just how much time and effort, how difficult this run was. Will there be a Ditto run for Gen 2 and 3? Well, technically, yeah. If I'm going to do all those games and do every Pokemon in the games, 386 I think for Gen 3, I think the amount of Pokemon in it, but yeah, that's what will happen. We will have to do more Ditto runs. But, well, if you have watched this long, I absolutely appreciate you staying here for what is damn near 2 hours and 20 minutes. Wherever you are in the world, stay safe, keep well. I hope I could make the content as enjoyable as possible with all the other stuff that we talked about while watching Ditto get pasted 73 times. The pink blob of incompetence is finished.